I'm finding super useful. And for add-ons that are quite popular, but for some or another reasons, another reason I won't be using them, and I will explain why. And I'm not saying that, hey, the add-ons that I'm not using, they're like awful add-ons. S A B C D. I'm not going into F, I think. So just gonna quickly open my Blender market page. Let's start with I won't be talking a lot about characters, I think, in this tutorial. I will see. We'll see. Let's start with to optimize. So this one is an S tier add-on. I can't imagine my life without this add-on. Because what this add-on allows us to do is we are able to optimize the scene quickly. We are able to resize textures. So batch resize textures within Blender. So usually in the past, what I was doing is I was like packing the file and unpacking it, so the textures are all in one folder. And guys, always remember about unpacking your scene. And then using like Irfan view or Xn resize or like other resizes to resize them. Now, what this add-on allows you to do is just go into menu on the right, sort the textures by size, select them, and then just resize them to downsize them to resolution you want to use. And one thing, there was for the longest time I thought that, for example, 8K textures, they were like slowing down the scene, and it's not the 8K textures just because they're like 8K. It's the size of an 8K texture. Like 8K texture can be easily like 10 megabytes in size, so it won't impact our performance as hard. So with the new GeForce series or with RTXs since like 3000 series, or maybe differently, like when we were using 2000 series, when I was like using 2000 series, the scene after it reached like 2 million vertices, it started to lag, where nowadays, like you can easily, with new GeForces, you can build scenes that are like 20, 30 million vertices, and they will still be able to run smoothly. So nowadays, what impacts, slows the Blender performance the most are the texture sizes. So this is like a nice tier. I mean, and yeah, I'm talking about add-ons that cost money. So I know this kind of sucks, but the thing is, you can still resize the textures on your own. Like a lot of the add-ons I'll be talking about, they're like, they make your life easier, or they just make the process faster, so you can still resize your textures by hand. Like this is a lot of them. They add more, I don't know, convenience. Another SE add-on is drag and drop. So sometimes, usually in my workflow, I'll try to focus on like one thing at a time. Meaning, I want to avoid getting overwhelmed. So I don't want to go between, I don't know, I'm like setting up the lighting at the same time. I'm still figuring out the composition, and then I'm like texturing and tweaking shaders. So what I will do, I would like import some models. Then I will just like grab a screen grab, scribble out over the screen grab, trying to decide what will be my next steps. So this lighting is hitting my face too hard. So so what I will do, I would go into the internet and like start maybe looking for scans, and I will like download 10 models at a time. And I really want to avoid going into Blender and having to repeat the motion of file external data. I'm sorry, file import fbx or file import obj, and then I want to import like the object, the model as an fbx and it's an obj, so I have to repeat the process. So I hate like clicking, like there is also like a bunch of shortcuts that I will be using that save a bunch of clicks or save like a couple of seconds, but just because you will I will like repeat the certain actions like hundreds of times, in the end up it always adds up, and it's either like slow us down, or if we are like using a bunch of like different shortcuts, it will speed up our process. So yeah, drag and drop is a nice tier. So again, it's not mandatory to have. It saves you some time, which is like a deal breaker for me. So yeah. Other add-ons. So what I would avoid is avoiding any procedural shaders. So when it comes to doing huge environments, I wouldn't use an add-on like Mask Tools. I know it's like quite popular one, and I will be using it for like interiors, but I ended up, do I want to place it for the exterior, for the huge area shots? I'm gonna place it in C, because I don't want to get caught up in tweaking shaders too much, and I don't want for the shaders to feel too CGI. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing and I'm using it all the times, but if there is a shot where there's like dozens and dozens and dozens of buildings, and like the facade of the building, they will be this small, I don't really want to use this add-on to be able to texture this building. And the thing with Blender shaders is, if you keep using like noise maps or whatever, kind of, I don't know, like Blender type shaders other than like BSDF and Albedo plugged into BSDF and like the other maps like roughness and normal, it will impact the performance of your scene as well. So when it comes to big shots, usually I will try to avoid either like using add-ons like Mask Tools or any procedural I don't know, edgeware or stuff like this. I will try to focus on using photos. However, when it comes to the interior shots, for sure I might end up using Mask Tools, because I don't know, I think it was like in one of the Danar Vorias, right, tutorial where he's using Mask Tools to create those like beautiful displacement, and we see a wall and there's like a layer to it, and beneath there's an entirely unbelievable thing happening, right? So yeah, just for the exterior shots or huge scale shots, I would avoid this add-on. Come on. Another add-on that I really love is Aquatico. But I'm gonna place it in A tier. Because of, I really don't understand. This will kind of suck what I'm about to say. I mean, I'm not putting it in S tier because I'm finding that their shader nodes, it's so complex that I've spent a bunch of time and I still haven't figured it out. So, and it's just like the water shader in how water shaders are working in Blender. Like you need to put some time into figuring it out. But from the other side, this add-on, like after you import the shader, you will end up with water that will already look like amazing and interesting. So really loving Aquatic. But also then again, I will have like a bunch of other water more simple shader setups that might give maybe even better results in some cases, but still, that's an amazing add-on. Curve Basher. I think that was Curve Basher. So this one goes into S tier, and you will see why. This add-on allows you to quickly create wires, it allows you to quickly generate or create wires. And there are like different types of wires, and you can change them to, for example, chains. So there are already chains that are that are attached with this to this add-on. And also it allows you to I think it was this add-on that allows you to just like draw curves in your on your scene on your tablet. I'm gonna show it to you soon. Let's talk about Fluent Materializer. So this is an amazing add-on, but then again, for huge external shots, I'm just placing it in C tier. Like if I want to show stuff like up close, then I would like think about maybe using it, but again, I don't need all of those like super crispy and nice details in a faraway shots, and I know this add-on also like impacts the performance of your scene. Let's talk about plants quickly. So forestation, I'm gonna place it in, I'm like thinking about A and B, because what I love about this add-on is it's a bunch of trees, 50 scanned trees, and each time you spawn the tree, it will spawn a different variation of it. Meaning, if I will spawn this tree and then spawn the same tree, it will feel slightly different. So it's a great way to avoid repetition. But the reason why I'm like giving it, and there's like you can change the leaves into like autumn, like tweak the colors. The reason why I'm not like putting in as an S tier is because the assets are extremely heavy. I mean, those are like photoscan trees, so I totally understand that they should be heavy. But the thing is, like the low poly version, even the low poly version is like super heavy. It will be oh, I think I have to open all their Blender. Let's see. Low poly. I know. Let's grab this one. So even the low poly one has like over 300,000 vertices. So that's like a huge no when building Blender scene. And then when we will be building Blender scene, we'll want to have this bar visible. So you have to right click in the right corner and then toggle the scene statistics. Like whenever I'm importing an object to the scene, I'm paying attention to the amount of verts. So I would say 300,000 verts. I mean, that's how those kind of assets weight. But to me, like maybe it's possible to either like decimate this tree or I know, make it lower poly without like destroying the mesh. So yeah, but still, it's an amazing add-on. Those are like the best trees. And then when it comes to different types of like vegetation, the really good assets come from scapes, from Terrascape. So I think those are the best looking assets in Blender. And they have like tropical scapes, jungle scapes, creeper scapes, vertical scapes, creeper as in ivy scapes. So ivy tends to be like super heavy, and the assets they're also like super heavy, but then they look amazing. So all of the scapes Junglescapes are my favorite ones. But then they're also like a bit heavy. So sometimes I will want to use heavy assets, heavy greenery in the foreground, but then in the midground and background, I will just like quickly model. I have like a tree that I've modeled from a tutorial and it has like only 10,000 vertices, and I'll just like try to tweak it and use it instead. So still gonna go with A. But those are, I think, a bit more heavy. But now let's go with A. What else? I'm giving mainly great notes. So let's go with adults that might surprise you. Simply Cloth Pro. I'm just gonna throw this one quickly. Throw in this one quickly. This is an S tier because you can do stuff by hand, obviously, the cloths, but I really like how convenient it is to use this add-on, because I really like to put cloths, windy cloths in my environment. So I'm gonna, I think, talk about how to use this add-on, like how to come up with a bunch of variations of different cloths within like a couple of minutes. Now let's talk about add-ons. About lighting add-ons. So Gaffer is easily an S tier too. It's an HDRI manager, and what it allows us to do is after you download it, I think it costs like 15 bucks. I mean, all of the add-ons, they cost some money, right? But if this add-on, like in the long run, will save me like dozens of hours, if not more, then that's totally worth it, right? So this add-on will download all of the possible HDRIs from HDRI Heaven, and it will download them. I think you can set up the resolution, but the one you want to use is 1K, always 1K resolution, because if there's no reason to really to use 4K resolution or a bigger resolution than 1K in Blender. Like, all I'm looking for when it comes to HDRI is the sky information. So I can go through this library, and what I can do quickly, for example, I can clamp down the sun from this HDRI with like one button, and I can do it by the nose, but just the sheer ability, just the amount of like HDRIs I can choose from, instead of like having to download them and drag and drop them and I don't know, go through file and import them. Like, it saves you a lot of time. Now that's it. I'm gonna go talk about Gaffer in a second. That's it. Physical starlight and atmosphere. So I'm placing it in C. I'm grading it C tier. Just because, although this is like an extremely amazing add-on, as in it comes with a bunch of presets with different types of lighting, and it can give you like a bunch of solutions, like you wouldn't even be able to figure it out. But it really affects the performance of your scene. So it creates extremely believable and cool looking scenarios. But if I was working, for example, like a bunch of times on scenes, and the scene got like moderately heavy, I would say like a couple of million verts, like 5 million verts. Then I found myself being unable to iterate on the scene because it was working so slow. And what I'm looking for always is there's this thing where if our scene runs slow, I mean, it impacts me. It impacts this like creative lane I want to stay in. I want to keep moving pieces around. I want to, I don't know, be creative with things. And I'm finding super hard to be iterating on the scene, coming with different angles if my scene is like loading super slow, or when I like move a piece around and then it's just scene will lag for like at least a couple of seconds, right? So then during the whole day I'll be able to move maybe like I'll progress very slowly, so it feels like this flow. So there is still, I think that there's like a lot of ways this add-on can be used. So for example, if you are like creating a scene that's not as heavy, or you want to like overpaint on it, and you will be using a bunch of blocks, or your scene won't like, I don't know, be heavier than a couple of million vertices, or maybe they've updated it by then, then for sure I would say go for it. But in our case, in case of those environments, I would pick Gaffer over like any other different like physical starlight, or I'm sorry, physical starlight, or the Nishita Sky in Blender, which also can lag your performance. What else? Scapes. This one. This one. This one. Oh, you're gonna hate me, guys, for this one. But I will talk about it in a second. So, any other engines that are not like supported by, don't want to say supported by Blender, but that are like using some different solutions. I mean, maybe differently. So I've tried a bunch of like e-cycles. I haven't tried k-cycles because, you know what, maybe not detail, because there were some scenes that were saved by e-cycles because they were so heavy and normal Blender wouldn't be able to render them. So now that I said that, let's, just because it saved my butt a bunch of times. But the thing with it was, if I render stuff in Blender, the renders were consistent, and then with e-cycles, some of the shaders, they wouldn't render it out properly, or there was something off with the light paths, and I like kept tweaking with the setting because there's a bunch of settings. So what also I'm kind of might be saying is that I'm placing in the B tier because I wasn't smart enough to maybe figure out what was wrong. But then again, I mean, this add-on saved me a bunch of times, but then there was like 2 different images I was working on, and like just what I've seen in viewport, what renders spew out, it felt like totally off. So, but then again, maybe it was caused by like some weird shaders that I was using. That's also the possibility, right? Pro Lighting Skies. This is an amazing add-on. God damn it. Bad. There's a thing with it. And I think it doesn't have to do with the creators behind the add-on. It just has to do with how artists are using it. So just what I mean, or just what I want to show you, to you guys, is that I'm gonna toggle this add-on, and I'm like using it constantly, but I will still go with Gaffer over Physical Starlight. I'm sorry, over Pro Lighting Skies and Physical Starlight too. But just in short, like this, what this add-on does is it comes with a bunch of like 360-degree skies. So it's basically a free sky, and I would like use it a lot when it comes to sunset. But in case of the sunset image I'm preparing for this tutorial, I'll actually use a photo instead. So let's turn it on. So for example, I'm going with a clear sky, and it's a cool looking sky, right? And the sun, it feels extremely strong. But the thing is, if I place a cube, to me it feels like the sun should be stronger. Now, it's not an issue because all you have to do is just tweak the sun, right, to make it stronger. But the thing is, artists will usually rely on this add-on as in, hey, that's a preset and it's an accurate lighting. Hey, that's a preset, like let's use it. It's an accurate lighting. Now, to me, it doesn't really feel accurate, as in how strong the sunlight is compared to the shadows, like the value difference. I would say on a sunny day, to me, it feels like this is like less than 4 points in value. So just to compare it to like a normal looking HDRI, so I'm just gonna pick up this one, a sunny one too, but I'm clamping the sky, the sun information. So the sky is blue, which means my shadows will be blue too. But about the sun, inside the sun, Let's use black body nodes, and I will talk about black body nodes in a second. I want for my sun to feel sunny, right? You see the difference in values, like how bright the sun information is versus like how strong the shadows are. Like I would say that's like at least 4 points of values, which I'm always like looking for when it comes to like sunny day. If it's an overcasty day, then of course. But if it's like a super strong sunny day with sharp shadows, then I feel like it should be contrasty. So like this. Over this, right? So, and again, I know you can tweak the values, but so often, and the sky is like still blue, right? But then you see like how saturated and intense the shadow is. So, and I would say like maybe it's like totally like plausible to or maybe this lighting scenario is like totally a thing that could happen or is happening in the real life. So maybe it's just like a preference. So all I'm saying, the add-on is amazing, but there are artists who are like over-relying on the settings in here, and then the images just turn out too dark, and our eye, it really likes to recognize the forms. Like this is way more interesting to our eye because we are able to clearly tell the shape of an object because the values between the sides is different, right? Versus if you go with stuff like this, it's a bit harder to tell, right? So yeah, but I will talk about it later. All right, there are two more add-ons that I wanted to cover. Hard Ops. It's an amazing add-on. S tier. It saves you a lot of times, a lot of clicks. It comes with like a bunch of different functions that allows you to I don't know, modify the mesh in a bunch of ways with like one click, where you would have to like go through a bunch of different modifiers to try and achieve the same effect on your own. Now, the last add-on I wanted to talk about, scatter. So, or geoscatter. So, in terms of the amount of things or functions or I don't know options you can do is scatter. It makes for an amazing add-on. But for the sake of this environment, I don't think I will be using this add-on at all because I found a method that's super simple and easy to use, and I feel like it gives me more control because I really don't want to get caught up in tweaking all of the like settings or getting caught up in weight painting or like in geometry nodes. And I know like this add-on can provide you like some super fast and great looking results. It's just that I found a method that involves just a plane, and I will use shrink wrap modifier on this plane, and then I'll just like scatter a bunch of particles and shrink wrap this plane to the surface, and I'll just like move it around and duplicate it to my convenience. And I just found it easier and faster to group shapes this way. So I'm not using this add-on not because it's not great. It's great. It's an amazing add-on. It's just that I really prefer to, for the sake of this environment or this tutorial, I'll just prefer to use my own method. So, and I'll be showing you shrink wrap and then how to generate grass quickly. And the other thing with grass is that you need a lot of grass for it to look believable. Like you don't want to create like patchy environments, right? And some of like often the grass assets or greenery assets are like super thin and small, so you need to add a lot of them, and it will like slow down your scene. It will impact your performance. Now I know you can only toggle what's visible in the camera, or you can like swap the assets for placeholders, but I'm kind of this like specific type of guy, meaning it's what I see is what I get. So I often will work in solid mode, and I want to avoid like the shapes changing from solid mode to preview mode to I don't know to a rendered image, right? So what I'm saying like overall is I'm not calling those add-ons bad or anything. I'm just saying for the sake of this tutorial, those will be the ones that I will be using. But you know what? Actually, I will be using to optimize, and I will be using drag and drop and curve basher and simply cloth and gaffer and hard ops I don't think I'll be using Aquatico. Maybe I will, but I will want to test a bunch of different water shaders. I won't be using junglescapes, forestation, lighting skies, e-cycles, scatter, mask tools, fluent materializer, physical starlight, or like any other add-ons that I will like create shader based like Rust or Agenter or like any different ways. I might use this one actually because I'm working on a couple of characters, right? So I might use this add-on for accessories, but then again, I know it might like impact the performance slightly when the character is placed in the whole environment and like some accessories will be super small, then it might be not worth the time. Now, so I'll be using those add-ons, but I would say the most important ones for me is like to optimize, and I'll have to go with Gaffer. Or you know what, to optimize Hardops and Gaffer. All right, so that's it for the add-ons. I know there's like plenty more, and there's like still a lot of the add-ons that I want to figure out. So again, I really want to focus on the ones that I'll be using for this tutorial, and then maybe I'll make another video